We're now joined this morning on the program by rights activist, lawyer, and former minister of youth and sports in Nigeria, Comrade Solomon Dalung. A warm welcome to you, sir, and thank you for your time. Thanks for joining us again on Breakfast Central this morning.
Good morning, Nigerians, and thank you for the opportunity.
Now, lots of Nigerians have been, yearning and aspiring for the real-time transmission of electronic of election results by INEC. There's been protests, and in December last year, the House of Reps did pass the bill, but had to rescind yesterday. What is your take on the current state of the nation with regards to the protest and what happened at the Senate yesterday?
It's clear that we are practicing democracy since 1999, and democracy is about the people. Now, the parliament, which is National Assembly here, for us, because we have a bicameral legislature, is the house of the people, and the practices all over the world is people access the parliament easily because it's the people's house. That is where they go watch, monitor, listen to deliberations, have access to their members, present their problems, opinions about how they should be governed. The current challenges emanated from the fact that Nigerians are asking for electoral reforms. This has been ongoing. The campaign has been ongoing all over the media. Conferences have been held. Rallies have been held to reinforce the electoral reforms. And when it came, we now had a different situation emanating from the National Assembly. And so the rights group decided, look, we have to be vigilant. This led to the current or the ongoing protests. The protests have been very, very peaceful, and all that we have been demanding from the speeches of all the leaders that have spoken is real-time electronic transfer of election results to guarantee transparency and the integrity of our polls. But it does appear that the National Assembly is on a different page completely. And this also confirms our suspicion that we are likely going to have this situation in our hands if we do not even start what we started. So basically now, the National Assembly, as you can see from the news, is in chaos. Lots of manipulation is going on there to just try to force down the throats of Nigerians. An electoral law that will guarantee the manipulation and the rigging of the electoral process to produce a discredited election. And on the side of the civil rights movements, we are also bent, and we will continue with the struggle of putting more pressure on the government, also mobilizing more hands, engaging many leaders to ensure that Nigerian people have their way.
But if you say that the civil rights movement will continue to put pressure to ensure that the Nigerian does what it needs to do, the Nigerian government does what it needs to do so that Nigerian citizens, can have their way, what really is the effect of protests? We see that when they are gathered, they're being tear gassed, and it seems that a bit of attention was paid to the protesters when the initial amendment was done to say no more transfer, it's now transmission. But now it's like they don't really care much about the protest. So is there really hope in protesters, being able to use that as a weapon to ensure that they hold the lawmakers to account?
The history of the struggle is anchored on the fact that an oppressor will not raise his knee on the neck of the oppressed unless being forced to do so. So there is nowhere in the world the oppressors will just wake up with a cup of tea and say to, oh, we are giving you this. Just like they would say, Tinubu said, power is not an a la carte, you have to take it, or you have to grab it, I don't know what it. So also is a struggle. And so whatever that you see happening is in pressure, and definitely they will ultimately give in, because the tyranny has never succeeded over the people. But let me come back to the actions. The actions is because they are getting jittery. If you have monitored the protests, you will discover that there is building in of more political leaders coming into the rally ground to address the protesters. And you will also notice that there is a gradual swelling in the number of the people that are gathering there. So they are getting jittery that it might likely, from experience of what has happened elsewhere, it is likely going to be something that they might not be able to control more, and they are not willing to do what is right. What was released on the protesters yesterday, I do not believe is the normal tear gas I've experienced in my 5 decades of being on the street. During the military era, I had so much tear gas smoke from the military and the police. But what I saw yesterday was a release of a gaseous substance, which was released into the atmosphere. I was about 1,000 meters away from the gate. And it took less than 5 seconds for me to be attacked by it. Now, the impact of the gaseous substance which they released, if you watch, it went straight up into the atmosphere, and it was released from a contained gas pressure, gas container. The impact on my skin was sensational burning, and it lasted even to the night. Everywhere that was not covered by any cloth was also affected. So I want to believe that that is not the normal tear gas. I was right there when the police came with their numbers, over 15 vehicles, and they were shooting tear gas everywhere. I did not even walk away from that. I will just walk 4 or 5 steps away from the gate and stood under the tree, watching them demonstrating their madness and then shooting tear gases with joy and insulting the oppressors. I didn't move away from there. I remained there. They sent the people up to the main road, and then some of them went into the forest that was opposite it. So they also started shooting their tear gases, following the protesters into the forest there. And I think that is also a security or a military location there. So those soldiers who were there, the security, they started reacting. And so there was also a counter shooting of tear gas from that location towards where the police were shooting, and then the police now decided to withdraw. And that gave some sanity, but they held their ground. So I don't believe that what was released or the attack on the protesters was a normal tear gas. I'm quite familiar with it.
Okay. I mean, you've talked about the gas that was shot into the air. We also heard that the impact on the skin was not favorable. Our reporter was on ground. He complained much bitterly about it. And you also witnessed it. I also saw a video of you talking tough about why such was used, especially on the people who were protesting peacefully. Can you share with us what this entirety means, especially for Nigerians, the protesters, and what will happen come 2027? What do you foresee?
Well, let me begin by commending the journalists who covered the protest from News Central. Because I was with him, even though he might not see me because he was embedded in smoke, which is Canada, but we were not too far from each other. And he was battling with even reporting at that point to cover what was happening. I don't want us to continue to promote what was used as tear gas. No, it wasn't. Even from the video there, you could see that the substances were pressed and it went straight into the atmosphere. And the impact, like you've said, is something that even this morning, I still feel irritation of impact on my body that was not covered and my face. So I think the summary of it all, how you can see it, the summary of it all is that this government needs to explain that substance that was used on Nigerians must be investigated. Because already there is an allegation by the former governor of Kaduna that the National Security Advisor imported into this country poisonous substances. For whatever reasons, that has not been explained. And then here you are, a very unique approach to dealing with a protest has been introduced by the Nigerian government, meaning that this government is willing to kill to remain in power. Therefore, the Nigerian people, from the character of those demonstrating yesterday, you can see that defiance and you can see the resistance. Because the people, yes, they took cover for their safety, but still did not go anywhere. They came back and there was engagement with the police. So there is a building spirit of resistance, while there is also the spirit of we must capture at all costs from the side of the government and the security operatives that are helping them to perpetuate. So to me, there are hard times ahead, and for the struggle, of course, freedom does not come by celebration. It comes by a struggle, and the struggle continues, even if in the grave.
Now, Comrade Dalung, we still have quite a lot to cover. Before we let you go, we just want to take a quick time out to pay our bills, and then we'll be right back to continue this conversation. Do stay with us. You're welcome back to Breakfast Central, and we're currently discussing issues that have to do with the state of the nation with rights activist, lawyer, and former Minister of Youth and Sports in Nigeria, Comrade Solomon Dalung. Thank you so much for staying with us. Now, let's now switch gears to issues that happened in the National Assembly yesterday of national importance. One of the first things I want to highlight is that of 109 senators, just 70 showed up for such an important decision that has garnered a lot of national interest. 70 senators showed up to vote for the electronic transmission issue. And in the House of Reps, something dramatic happened that for an issue as important as this, it was subject to a voice vote. But I want you to watch this video. Take a look at this video, and then I'll come back to complete my question.
And legal drafting experts from the Directorate of Legal Services
yesterday morning
of the National Assembly met to harmonize and address the identified anomalies, recognizes the imperative of ensuring electoral timeliness and statutory provisions, promote maximum participation, fairness, inclusivity, administrative efficiency, and public confidence in the electoral system, desirous of correcting the identified inconsistencies and unintended consequences through appropriate legislative action in order to safeguard the integrity of the electoral framework, the House resolves to rescind the decision on the Electoral Act Amendment Bill 2025 and commit the same to the Committee of the Whole for consideration. I so move, Mr. Speaker.
Thank you, Honorable Evan. Is the Chairman Committee on Electoral Matters around? Yes, Honorable.
I rise to second the motion ably moved by the Chairman Rules and Business to rescind the decision of the Electoral Act.
Aye. Those against, you say nay. The ayes have it.
Mr. Speaker, sir.
So, Comrade Dalung, there are two issues here. The first question, the first leg of my question is the obvious absenteeism, 70 senators out of 109 for such a contentious and important national issue. And then what you just saw now, from the audio, we know that the nays at the majority say in that voice vote, but the Speaker said the ayes have it. So what is your response to that? And do we need to also introduce electronic voting in Parliament so we can, for more accountability and we know who voted for what, rather than a shouting contest when it comes to voice votes?
Well, these rules are well entrenched in our laws. Even the legislative processes, the rules of the House has what method to be deployed and at what point, and even when there are disagreements, what should be adopted to resolve the issue. But the Speaker and the President of Senate of this 10th Assembly had introduced what we call legislative impunity. Well, that is disregarding anything that the floor decides and using the gavel to decide his own personal interest as the interest of the House. It has been like that. Even during the emergency rule, the Senate President just, the ayes have it, even when the nay was the majority. So it has been their practice of this 10th National Assembly. So I'm not surprised about what Abbas is doing. If you want to understand why they do these things, you have to look at their behavior whenever the president is coming into the hallowed chambers and how excited they would be. And instead of singing the national anthem, they would sing one ignoble song to welcome him. So I am not surprised by what happened there. And it is just in continuity of trying to impose tyranny in place of democracy on Nigerians. So these are attack dogs of tyranny, trying to do the biddings of their masters. But the point is, democracy is a very fragile institution nurtured by consensus and the rule of law. So once these basic foundations are attacked consistently, the next thing you will have is to fulfill the political opinion of a great political thinker who said, well, if it is not possible to have a peaceful change, it will also be inevitable to have a violent change. So they are gradually drifting the country into anarchy through impunity, abuse of processes, and nonchalant attitude, executive recklessness, and imposition at all costs. And that every rational Nigerian can understand. But the reaction of the people is also clear. You see what happened in Kano, where the APC rally, people gathered there, they were not afraid of the police, they were not afraid of security, and they were saying, Ba Mwai. Nigerians are speaking loudly, you have been rejected.
All right, thank you very much, Mr. Dalung, for joining us this morning on Breakfast Central to share your thoughts as well as your experience with us regarding the protests that have happened outside the National Assembly.